I'm Letizia Treves, the curator of Italian and Spanish paintings here at the National Gallery, and I'm co-curator of Goya, the portraits. And I'm standing beside the very first portrait in this exhibition, which is the earliest self-portrait we know of Goya as a young man. The exhibition really is the brainchild of Xavier Bray, who's chief curator at Dulwich Picture Gallery, and been working closely with him on the project for the last 3 years. I'm standing in front of the amazing portrait of the family of Don Luis from the Fondazione Magnani Rocca from Parma, which is one of the key loans to this exhibition. And it's about 15 years ago that Xavier organized a small exhibition around this painting in Room 1, and there it began the idea of doing an exhibition on Goya and his portraits. It's never been done before, an exhibition just focusing on Goya's portraits, and it gives us a new insight to the artist. He's obviously more famous for the black paintings, the naked maja, his engravings of the capriccios. But the portraits, in a way, you can follow an artistic journey through his entire life. Through them, you can see the stylistic evolution of his portraiture. And through the portraits and the sitters, you get a sense of the very turbulent history through which Goya lived. You see how Goya begins rather constrained by the portraiture tradition of his time. He tries very hard. I mean, in this painting, he's looking at Velázquez, he's looking at Las Meninas, and he's incredibly ambitious. He's really trying to make it as a portrait painter. He came to portraiture very late in his career. He was 36 when he received his first portrait commission, which for an artist at that time is really quite late. He, of course, went on to live until he was 82, so he had a very long career. But we've managed to gather about 70 portraits, from large paintings to small coppers and drawings. And I think the visitor will be surprised at how his style changes throughout this exhibition. The sort of stiffness of these early portraits as he strips away all of the attributes, and they take on a sort of simplicity and a modernity which is very surprising. Goya is essentially a self-trained artist. He tried twice to get into the Royal Academy of San Fernando in Madrid, was turned down, so he actually financed his own trip to Italy to study Old Masters, to study antiquity, and there's a beautiful sketchbook that still survives called the Italian Sketchbook, where you can see his drawings after classical sculpture, after paintings he saw, and also after vignettes of things he saw in the street. He was a great observer, Goya, and you really get that through his portraits as well. So we're standing in my favorite room of the exhibition, which is that showing Goya's artists, fellow artists and friends. And I'm standing in front of the portrait from the National Gallery of Ireland in Dublin, showing the actress Antonia Zarate. The reason I love this picture is technically it's so brilliant. The lightness of the mantilla, you know, Goya was so fantastic at painting costume and dress and textures, and the transparency of her mantilla here. And there's a wonderful silence and dignity in this portrait, which I think really makes it stand out from everything else in the exhibition. So in autumn 2016, I'll be curating an exhibition on Caravaggio and his followers, on the Caravaggeschi. And this is the first of its type to take place in Britain. Although this is a subject that's been explored in recent years in other exhibitions, it's never been done in this country. And really the idea is to encourage people to look at Caravaggio not as a figure in isolation, but in the context of his contemporaries, and on his sort of the ripple effect of his influence on artists in the first half of the 17th century.